Hello everyone, this is Sam from DATEC Studios. In this video, I want to introduce Volume Select modifier in 3D Studio Max. Generally, Volume Select works with interaction or intersects with objects or gizmos defined in 3D Studio Max. For example, I create a plane, right, and collapse it to editable poly and increase subdivision. Now I add volume select modifier. In the parameters, we have stack selection level. We could set an object, vertex, or faces. Because we have here only one element, we could set on vertex or face. Selection method could be replaced as subtract, also invert them. And of course select by volume or surface feature, something like material ID, segments group, texture map, or mapping channels, or even vertex color. Allow me to create a geometry here. I will change this color to something a bit different. Alright. If I select my plane and go to Modify tab, now I could define select by volume in mesh object and select my object. If you see our stack selection level set by object, I could set by face, which will find intersected areas, and by vertex. We usually selecting vertex because face does not have soft selection option. So I select vertex. As you see, we have intersection by that. So if I start moving, for example, this geometry, you will see working very well. Even with intersection. Alright, and you could apply modifier to that. Note that some modifiers work with selections and some others would not. For example, I create another geometry, something like cylinder, and add subdivision, collapse it to editable poly. I don't mind about caps. Alright, if I select some part of this cylinder and while my selection enabled, or I used poly select, I could apply, for example, some modifier like FFT. As you see, this modifier only now works on the selection area. And even I could enable soft selection here to achieve a smoother result. Or some other modifiers such as bend, twist, taper, and many others. I will test, for example, by taper and start enable. As you see, works very well. But some modifiers will not work with selected area and it will apply to entire geometry. So, for example, if I apply shell modifier, as you see, shell modifier does not pay attention to your selection. Of course, there are several solutions to use these modifiers like Morpher or using data channel and few other helper modifiers. Alright, so I remove that and go back to my plane. So if you remember, I made a plane with higher subdivision level, enabled volume select, and in select by volume, I selected mesh object and specified this sphere. And now I will enable soft selection because our stack selection level set by Vertex. If you see, now if I start move my geometries, anywhere intersected will interact with your object volume. Alright, now I could apply some modifiers, work with selection volume, something like I mentioned before. FFD, I only select FFD 2x2. I don't need set any specific settings. I just enable that, and for example I move it up or even down. Now if you check, it will interact with my geometry. This is very simple but very useful. Alright, let's do another example. I create a cylinder again. And collapse it to editable poly. Which caps does not important. You could apply shell or not. But again, this time I will apply volume select by vertex, and again I could create any sphere or any other geometry type, align to this cylinder, and I will increase radius. Alright, so I select mesh object and select this sphere and vertex and soft selection. I could decrease soft selection, and now for example I apply FFD. I could increase. Alright, even you could apply FFD 3 or 4 to get more smoother results. Anyway, so I select this sphere, and if I start moving, as you see, it will work interactively very well. You could even increase the scale amount of this FFD to get more smoother results. Or even instead of FFD, you could apply other modifiers. I create a shape here, something like that. Alright, and collapse it to spline. Make sure all vertices are converted to corner. Now I start to round them up. Alright. I press Ctrl V or right click and clone to duplicate this object as copy type. And for new copy version, I make the radius thickness more. And for a smoother result, increase the sides, and interpolation, we could uncheck the optimize and increase the levels, or you could simply just apply normalize spline modifier to achieve more smoother unified results. I think that's fine for now, but maybe the thickness is too much. Alright, and I see we have overlap here, so I convert it to editable poly and check again. Alright, we don't have any issues here. Now again, for example, I will create a sphere, any type of sphere, geosphere or regular one. Alright. Also I have path. Allow me to again delete these caps. And since we have here too much. Alright, I delete it. Okay, now I select my spline and extend it a bit to create better animation. Alright, going to perspective. I change my sphere color. Select a sphere, go to animation menu. Constraint and path constraint. And select this spline. If I start to playing, you will see we made a new animation based on this spline, which will not get out of this spline. Alright, so I select my pipe, volume select by vertex and mesh select. Of course, this mesh, go a bit forward and use soft selection. You could also work with bubble and pinch to get your desirable result. I think that's fine, not so important. Now this time instead of F50, for example, I could apply something like push modifier. Alright, and increase the push value. And you could work with your values, something like fall off and bubble or any other parameters you need. Now if I start playing, as you see, this is work very well. I could increase the push value to get more bold result. Also, as I mentioned before, this is not baked animation. This is fully interactive. You could totally work manually by your hand or set any frame you like. These keyframes available to delete and set any value position you want. For example, I will start from here, set key. Alright, I set key here, going to next frame I would, and start to set position. Alright, and go back here. And even you could set, for example, scale. Not too much to get overlap, but still working. So we made our animation. That's so easy. But I made another project and mentioned in some cases we need to use some other modifiers assist like Morpher. For example, imagine I have a plane here, collapse it to editable poly and break them all to make separated surface. Alright, I apply volume select. Again, something like vertex or face is not so important here, and create something like, okay, box this time. I will make this box see-through by pressing Alt or Option X. Alright, now select my geometry. As you see, this is working well. I think my box should be a bit wider. Fine. Okay. Now, if I try, for example, enable something like size, I enable edit poly and go to polygon mode. For example, I'm trying to make outline. If I start to make outline and OK, if you check, as you see, this is not working with your volume selection. So we need some assistance. So I select edit poly, make edit poly new modifier in a stack, and select them all. And for example, I said outline again. Something like that, just example. This is not working, so after volume select, you could apply something like Morpher and set the value. Alright, now I go to edit poly again and trying to go back. Any value you already set, okay, and select for second one, okay. If I start to set the value, for example here, as you see, now this is working with help of Morpher modifier very well. Or even you could set your volume select invert in selection method to work in occluded areas. And even I mentioned in another workshop, you could use, for example, delete mesh to remove any unwanted mesh area to just see any visible area you like. I think here we need some soft selection to get a smoother result, and that's fine. I could even increase subdivision level here to see the final results. This is interactively work with my geometry occluded. Or you could even apply other modifiers, something like ripple, twist, bend, or FFT, or many others. One more tip here, some modifiers in normal mode usually does not working. For example, I create this plane again and let's separate them all. I will break them, alright, and create something like text this time to make a bit fun. I will type DATEC and start to decreasing the size. Alright, I enable extrude modifier, change the color. Alright, again I enable volume select, vertex. You could enable soft selection and geometry, also make fall off. Just note that these modifiers are old and usually support only single core, so be aware your system don't crash, or usually working it's very unoptimized and slow. Anyway, now if I apply something like face extrude modifier, it won't work at all. But by using some other plugins like type flow modifiers, you could easily achieve your desirable result. Instead of face extrude, I could use type face extrude. And as you see, now this is working very well, and even you have much more options. I think this is cute. Even you could hide this geometry or disable renderable to make beautiful animation. For example, I collapse this text to edit poly, moving up. Alright, and start to make animation. For first frame, first of all, allow me to set the keys. On frame 10, I will bring this down. Okay, go to next frame. 20, I think is fine. Now second one. And keep continue for next ladders. All right. And 50. Now I could select my geometry in object properties, disable renderable. Also in the scene you could set see-through or hide or display as box, anything you like. And alright, okay. I could even hide this geometry and start to playing to see the result. Because the modifier is not optimized, it is playing so slow, but I'm trying to show you the final result slowly. I will move frame by frame to show you the final result. Maybe in clay mode you could see better. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.